All right, we're back for episode 132 of Digital Divination.
Ooh, that's nice. I run Lundeen, and I'm an employee of Wizards of the Coast, and the opinions I express here are mine and not theirs.
Hooray.
That's
Hooray.
right.
All right. Most
So what are we
excellent.
actually going to
Most
talk
excellent.
about now?
Well, we can talk about some of your opinions, some of Jason's opinions, and some of my opinions.
That's what we have here.
Well, that's all of
That's kind
us.
of all anybody ever gets.
Yes.
3 opinionated guys on digital divination.
Well, Starfinder Second Edition's coming out, and they're slowly doing the drip campaign of stuff that's coming out. But I don't know of anything new that was announced here since our last episode. So instead,
We're going to see that Galaxy Guide real soon. I'm
I
sure.
yes, I won't say more about seeing it soon. Okay, but yes, it should come out April. That's next week.
That's right.
Yeah.
For when we are recording now, April is in 2 days. But by the time people hear this, it's already April because they're living in the
Yes.
future.
So the Galaxy
Comes out
Guide
this
will be out.
month.
All right, but until we get the Galaxy Guide to look at, in which case we can talk about it. How about we talk about all the things that we're looking at doing now between now and when Starfinder Second Edition launches in August? What other games maybe we're interested in?
Like what's tiding us over?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, what's tiding you over?
That's all right. I'll start then. Fair enough. I have like a every Wednesday group that plays tons of different stuff, and a lot. Half the time we're playing stuff that we're playtesting for ourselves, or newer games that we're working on. And half the time, well, I would say the other 2/3 of the time, we're just trying out different things because we got a lot of we've been doing this for like 12 years now or something crazy. And so I just started my one of my campaigns. I basically I think I get to run like 3 times a year, rotating wise. And what I've started was a game of Triangle Agency. Da, 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 da. Goes past
And
my
you've
face.
shown this off
Um,
before. Tell me more.
yes, it's a lovely hardback. It is a very strange role playing game by Haunted Table Games, and so I don't know if any of you have ever played the video game Control.
I have not.
Mm-mm.
Okay, it is by the people who made Alan Wake and Max Payne and
No.
some other
Yep.
some other
Okay.
games. In fact, that's now all those games are basically now in the same universe. If you have been paying attention, anyway, Control is about a building in a city where this woman goes in to find her like brother, I believe, mysteriously disappeared and whatever. And it's the head of the Control. It might have a different name, but it's like some agency is there, and then she goes in and basically something happens and she becomes sort of part of this company. She actually becomes the like the CEO, the president of it, kind of like through weird mystic and sci-fi nonsense. And so but then things start going wrong, and basically then this agency it deals with controlling these weird anomalies that happen, like and the building is just basically sort of like breaking out and all the things are escaping. It's a little bit like I don't know if you familiar with the SCP website. It's the Secure Contain Protect or whatever it is. It's like that. So Triangle Agency is basically Control, the role playing game. And it is you play people who have superpowers, who work for this company, this agency, this corporation that is looking to maintain reality, stabilize it, basically, because things go weird, and it's your job to use your weird superpowers, which come from weirdness, to basically contain the weird things.
Okay.
It is just bonkers in its execution. The first thing you will see in here is a terms and conditions page. that kind of mocks the ideas of and what you're about to read is highly classified kind of stuff. Like at the beginning, it does a thing where the game what you're about to play is the Triangle Agency's role playing game initiative. So you're sort of b- people who are sort of agreeing to be members of the Triangle Agency who are also playing a game inside the game. And so sometimes it just sort of like uses like little brackets when it says like, you know, uh, the agents slash players. And like, basically as if, talking to you as a book reader and the game player and the people who are the Triangle Agency agents who are playing the role playing game initiative.
Well, that's zany.
Um,
Very, very meta.
it's very zany. It's very weird and meta. There's art in here that's just off the wall. He talks about the superpowers that you have. Um, Here's one of them is just called the Whisper. And the picture of that is a weird like Garfield phone with like a human mouth in the phone
Right?
piece. One of the you can power you can pick is one of the powers you can pick is just called Gun. Um, and but it's a magic gun because the picture of the gun is a rock. There's a lot of stuff like that.
Mm,
And it does one of the just so many weird and unique things. You pick that, you pick like sort of like where you work in the company outside of being a field agent. Are you like basically, work for R&D? Do you answer the to hotlines? Do you basically some sort of janitor, that kind of stuff. Are you a CEO? CEO is one of the basically things you can pick. Um and that sort of gives you sort of things that you need to do. The game runs on commendations and demerits
okay.
that you get out in field work, and those are basically sort of like XP and,
Yeah.
and whatnot. There's a heavy severance vibe to some of the
Okay.
stuff in here too. Stuff is named weird at the end of every mission. If you're the most valuable player, well, you have the most commendations. You get to wear your character gets to wear the socks of success for the next mission. There's just like this whole like work life balance stuff where you put your XP kind of that's a little I don't want to go too much into explaining it, but like um it gets into some stuff, and then the GM part of the book is sort of also breaking that fourth wall. Something is going on weird inside the agency that's talking to you like, oh, don't be a sucker, don't work for the agency, kind of stuff. Like, this is how you're supposed to run a game. And all of that is sort of builds into the point where what they have in the back of the book are called playwalled documents instead of play wall, that you unlock by playing the game. So there are points in the game where that just says go see document A2. And you're not supposed to read that document until you've gotten to that
Hmm.
point.
Okay.
So you read that document and you go, oh, this is more whatever. So there's like there's actually literally mechanics in here that don't make any sense until that you don't use until you've unlocked it in the book
It's a little bit
by
like
essentially
legacy
like
board games, right?
it's a little bit like legacy board games. You're not tearing, ripping. You can always go back. But it is a sort of a
Yeah.
a situation where, like, yes, if you know what it is, then you can go for it. But you're technically, I guess every campaign because, like, as you spend, if you get these little XP tracks, if you fill the stuff in, one of the boxes will just say K2, and you filled it in. Oh, now I can go look at K2. Oh, and here my power just got better. I get a fourth use of my power, or whatever it is, and here's what it is, right? And then there's a bunch of I haven't actually looked at all the playwall documents because I'm not supposed to. But yeah, there's basically stuff like what happens if your agents fail too many times and reality ends. Here's a whole thing in the back that describes how you're
Oh.
supposed to sort of do that in game, and then like everyone signs the form letter that says I messed up a whole bunch and it's my fault that reality is, and it's very severance. I admit it's my mistakes, and even the GM has to sign it. um weird stuff. It's The game runs on a 6d4s. Anytime you do anything, essentially you roll 6d4s,
That's
and you
triangles.
want to get in triangles, and you want to get threes. You don't have necessarily like any way to get better at a thing to roll more dice or get threes, on different numbers. It's always you want a total number of threes.
Wait,
But
but not
what you do
not
get
3 or
better is
better. A 4 is no
No, it's
good.
just 3
Just
you want.
3.
4 is no good. 4 is as bad as 1,
Okay.
is you just want the number 3. If you get 3 threes, it's the whole thing. What you get is uses basically re-rolls of the dice. That's a way if you get better at something, you can re-roll those dice
Hmm.
more. And the thing that's been difficult, I kind of played like a training mission for
Mhm.
last Wednesday where they just sort of were like, here's an anomaly and whatever, and you're supposed to like keep like say Vampire the Masquerade, you kind of have to keep the public from not knowing things. So there's loose ends, you can get loose ends. Anytime you roll the dice, basically it generates chaos, and the GM gets to spend chaos to do specific things, to mess up the mission or whatever. But anyway, the one thing that they discuss, besides the idea of like you having these superpowers, you're going. I think that the way that they say it is that failure is guaranteed. If you try to do something, it seems like if you want to try to do something that you would do normally in a role playing game, this is the stuff thing I'm having difficulty sort of wrapping my head around. You will fail. You don't get to roll the dice. But if you want something to happen similar to that, you basically, you ask the agency for help and then sort of describe a series of events that could feasibly happen to make that thing occur. For instance, instead of me pickpocketing someone to steal their ID card to get into the building, right? I go, well, what if he just accidentally leaves it behind, and then I can just pick it up? That's obviously something I can do. Yeah, when I say failure is guaranteed, it's failure to do anything complex, failure to do anything you would normally do. Like normal stuff is you can walk
Okay.
around and talk to people and stuff like that, right? But if you want to do something that you would normally maybe roll a skill check for in another role playing game, you
No,
don't. You have to
you
do this
fail.
other stuff. You don't. You fail. So you have to think about like, okay, well, how do I get him to leave? Oh, it's I've seen it. It's in his jacket. So if he leaves drops his jacket and forgets about it, well, we'll cause him to forget his jacket. Well, maybe I don't know. Something happens to it and it gets damaged to the point where he takes it off and has to run to the hospital or something. Oh, he gets acid spilled on him. Oh gosh. Okay, so where the acid is going to come from? Oh, there's uh, a scientist who's coming out of the building. So you have to like try to think of like some Rube Goldberg set of events, and then sort of be like, okay, now then you roll the dice and to see if it happens. Basically,
Okay.
so it's the way I've realized. I was just thinking about it earlier today. Actually, the way I think the realize is that the character is not organizing that event, those series of events. The player is. So you have to kind of have player character knowledge sort of separate. The character is just like, I'd like to get a hold of that jacket, and then things happen and they get a hold of that jacket. Whereas the player has to go, what about this? What about this? And then, all the other players can help to come in. And the more reasonable it sounds, the sort of like less difficult it is for, oh yeah, I need this many threes to make it happen, right? I might not like use that exactly when I'm running it because it takes up a little bit of time, and I've got like 7 players, and
Wow.
and they always come up with interesting things to do, interesting ways to do things anyway. Like no matter what game we're playing, um, it's just why this group barely interacts with rules because there are 7, there are 8 of us total, and we only play for about 2 hours, and because most of the other people are on the East Coast, so they're gonna 10 o'clock their time, the game is pretty much over, the session I should say, and so and they're always like, what about wacky this and this stuff wacky this, and most of the time it's just like everyone's just like, well, we don't want to roll the dice to see if that works. That should work. That's hilarious. It should just go. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that kind of stuff. But it is an interesting game, an interesting something to think about. I would love to. It's one of those games that the problem is that I love games that everyone who I play with them should also read the book
Okay.
to get the feel for the game. Right? Unknown Armies is like that. Some other games are that I have that are like that, and I don't always get to play with the people who also have the book and who have read the
Mm.
book and know basically how the game is meant to work or stylistically how the game is meant to be played. This is one of them. I still think it's pretty cool, and I'm definitely gonna, I'm always thinking about what the next thing is. What weird thing are they gonna come up with, right?
Have you played or seen, I think it's Monty Cook Games, Stealing Stories for the Devil? This
No, I haven't.
this reminds me a lot of that. The thing about Stealing Stories for the Devil is that you also have superpowers because you're from like the 34th century and you've come back to the modern day because there's a thing you have to steal. That you come
Hmm.
back into the past, and your ability to alter reality is limited by whether you can alter like people's perceptions, or whether you can alter physical
Mhm.
things, or whether you can alter events, right? Like you got this good, like you were talking about, oh, we need to get this key card for the guard, right? Well, if you're a sort of an event altering thing, well, that guard caught the flu or whatever and got really hot and left the jacket over the chair. And if you're a people
Sure,
alterer
yeah, yeah.
thing, if you're a thing alterer, then the door you need to get into is somebody left it unlocked anyway. You don't even need the key card, right? That's just part of the
Right, yeah, yeah.
storytelling that you do, um, in order to have all these zany things happen. It's reminding me a lot of the same kind of vibe. It is also, as you say, the kind of thing that maybe works best when everybody's read at least the player part of the rule book to get sort of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
vibe.
Mm.
Um, but I found that one to be a ton
Yeah.
of fun, and I loaned my copy to someone, and I don't know who. Um,
Ooh,
but
if you're out
Was
there,
me.
give it back.
I don't know. I don't. If somebody's going to enjoy a game, let them enjoy it. I'll just go get another copy. But
Yeah.
um, I was at one of the things that I played recently that was a lot of fun. I was out at GaryCon, which was an amazing convention. It was my first time out at
Mhm.
GaryCon in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I came in at the very last minute. I was going to go to GameStorm with my good friend Mark and some other guy, and anyway, that's John. John is the other guy. Anyway, but I got called in to work basically at GaryCon, which was a ton of fun. They were all very, the people that were hosting it were great, and I got to sort of meet a lot of industry people. I lived in the Midwest for several years, so I got to meet some friends that I hadn't seen in a while who happened to be going to the convention as well. But while I was out there, I bumped into a an industry contact I know, and was mentioning that, oh, I was gonna go to this other convention in Portland until I got called here, and at that other convention I was going to be playing Shadow Dark for the first time because I've been interested in that sort of old school revival, but modern sort of design thinking for the dungeon crawling game Shadow Dark. And he looks at his watch and he's like, I'm actually supposed to be in a pickup game of Shadow Dark right now. Do you want to come along? I'm sure they can get you in. And not only was it a pickup game of Shadow Dark, but its designer, Kelsey Dion, was actually one of the players as well. Um,
Wow.
Whipped up a character, which is very easy. Your characters end up being very thematic as well. Um, I thought I'd be safe in a game called Shadow Dark playing a dwarf, but it turns out nobody, not even dwarves, can see in the dark in a game called Shadow Dark. You need to keep light around you, on you, because terrible things lurk in the darkness of the dungeon. In our case, the darkness of the dungeon was in like an old glacier, and there were like these entombed walrus people and these strange runes
Ooh.
and this dragon that was going to destroy the entire place that was descending. So there's this sense of inevitable doom while we're trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. It was great, like beginning to end. I found it was simple mechanics, but the mechanics were roll the d20 like you would know for any d20 style running around in the darkness game.
Mhm.
Um, but one of there are a ton of like weird tables that you roll upon. Maybe not as many as Dungeon Crawl Classics, which is another OSR game that's just chock full of weird tables. But strange events that sort of um, can sort of arbitrarily change things while still within the deep, in a dangerous dungeon kind of vibe. I thought it was a ton of fun. I had a really good time with Shadow Dark.
Did you die?
I did not die. Um,
There you go.
the character that got wounded that I was picking up and trying to carry over to the character that could heal him died while I was carrying him, did not make it over. So I'm like,
Oh.
here, heal this person and dump what proved to be a corpse on the ground.
Wow.
I'm like, and then
No.
I'm quickly doing some fast talking. I'm like, no, 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 he was totally alive when I picked him up. I promise.
Well, yeah, I just found out today that there's a local game store up here that is recruiting folks who might be interested in playing Shadow Dark on Saturday or Sundays. And I said, well, I keep Saturdays free for family stuff, and Sundays I have a game every other Sunday, including today with my good friend Ron here. So if it works off that schedule, so sure enough, next Sunday we're going to have a introductory session 0 to Shadow Dark, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
not going to
awesome.
play a dwarf, expecting it to be able to see in the dark. So I will
Wise,
do something
wise.
else.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So at this same convention that Ron was supposed to go to, and he bagged on us for this important work, I
I got
went.
called away for work.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, not his
I
fault.
said that. Now I went there to run some Starfinder, so I ran one of my adventures, and I played some Pathfinder. But I was also looking for other games to play, and in particular, I really wanted to play City of Mists because in another game that
Mm.
Ron and I are in later on this spring, I think in May, we're supposed to start a City of Mists campaign. And it's
No,
like
it's I can correct you there. It's June
June. Okay.
because he wants to end everything by June 11th when the new Superman movie
Oh,
comes out.
yes,
And
that's
when the new
right.
Superman movie comes out, immediately start running a superhero campaign.
Right, right. So
Very
City of
good.
Mist is a superhero type of campaign, a game. It's runs on the Powered by Apocalypse system. So
Mm.
it's 2d6 basically,
Mhm.
and 1 through 7 is a failure, 8 through 10 is a success and partial success, something like that. And then 11
Yeah.
up is a full success. And you get modifiers based on abilities you might have or other circumstantial things. And what's really interesting about City of Mist, in which our Jason, a different Jason, is likes about is the fact that it kind of brings in the superhero part of you and your civilian part, and both of them play
Oh
big
yeah.
roles as you're going about growing as a character, but also solving problems and missions and things like that. Now, and stuff I did know talking to Jason and learned a little bit about at the convention. So the notion of City of Mist is that there's this mist that's coming in that's causing mythologies basically to start forming amongst individuals in the city, and
Mm.
not everybody gains these sort of mythos abilities, superhero abilities. Some people might gain them, and they had a name for them. It's something I can't remember the name. It's like um, just people that are on the verge of maybe making that change, but they aren't.
Mhm.
And the idea, though, is that there's this mist here in certain areas where the mist is really thick. There's a lot of folks that have these special abilities, and a lot of crazy things happen there. And then when it's not so thick, there are fewer people, and the media doesn't really pick up all these strange happenings. Like, when somebody launches a big fireball because of an ability, the media takes that as, oh, there was a gas main explosion kind of thing. So
I see.
Right.
there's
Yeah.
so the nature of the mist obscures the fact that there's these things
Uh-huh.
happening in the mythos that you can have. So like my character um had 2 mythos and 2 logos, so 2 superpower cards and 2 regular person cards. And my mythos was Rumpelstiltskin. So he had certain abilities, like one of the upper abilities that I didn't get. If you once you gain enough, you do enough things on your abilities, you can kind of level up, so to speak, some abilities. So the next level of things would have been to be able to spin things into gold, basically, create gold. But
Okay.
the
Mhm.
basic
Mhm. Yeah.
basic level stuff is I could mysteriously enter any locked room. I could magically unlock, fasten things, stuff like that. And on my logos parts, I had been a kind of like a mafia, a wannabe mafia head in charge of a small, like a small crime lord in a small city,
Yeah.
into gambling and stuff. But I had gone away, uh, gotten caught for whatever reason, gone to jail for
Mm.
number of years, and I was just coming back now. My whole goal was to try to reclaim that station I had before. And the interesting thing about City of Mist is that you can switch more into your logos, more into your civilian life if you focus a whole lot there, or more into your mythos side if you focus a lot there. And if you focus too far, if you become all mythos, so you have 4 different things of mythos, right? Then you no longer, the player can't play you anymore because you've become Rumpelstiltskin and now you're a villain that's in the world, right?
Oh.
Or if you go all the way to the other side, so all 4 of your cards you have become your logos, your civilian side. Well, now you no longer have any special abilities, and you don't even know about them. The mist obscures them. Now you become a full-time
Mhm.
civilian. So
And
it's
you're a person who's like, oh, it must have just been a gas leak, right?
right,
Because you're
and
not believing any of the
and it must
mythical
have
things.
and it must have just been a dream. The fact that I thought I could
Right.
spin, straw into gold and things like that. So it's kind of interesting. And one of the things about the mechanics is that your mythos and your logos, so your civilian and your super side, each have different abilities that may come into play given the circumstance. So, like, for example, we were investigating a missing person. And so in the investigation, right, it might be that my character knows a certain neighborhood. So I could get a additional +1 because I had this ability of knowing a certain neighborhood, right? Maybe because of my mythos, I might have some intimidation factor or something. Well, I might get a +1 for that. And depending on how you interpret your abilities on whatever problem you're approaching, you could have between 0 and you could have 6 or 7 or a lot of +1s to add on to your 2d6 to push that success rate, the likelihood of
Up,
success,
up, up
Right.
into
much
Yeah.
the
much
or
higher.
success at cost or
Yeah.
full success.
Yeah. And one of
Right?
the issues I think though is that how you interpret those special abilities. So, in the game I was playing, there were a couple of folks that had played City of Mists a lot, and they had played particular characters a lot, and they drew all kinds of connections that I were tenuous at best to get the additional +1s. And I think that goes kind of against the notion of having so many different characters, so many different abilities. You really should be limited. I mean, you shouldn't be able to do everything for everything all the time and all problem solving, right?
No. Yeah.
And so a lot of it depends on how strictly you adhere to things and how much the GM does stuff. And the GM can add in additional factors like, if you're interrogating somebody, well, that person's maybe nervous, so they might get a +1, or maybe they're agitated or angry with you. Maybe you get a -2 to your roll, and so you can do other things to help
Mhm.
kind of adjust that. So it was nice to kind of learn the system, roughly how it works, and I'm really looking forward to it now, June 11th, so we can watch the new Superman movie together, and then go roll our superhero characters and get started.
Do do you get to choose what your mythos is, or do you like roll that randomly,
So
or what?
when I played, the person had the expansion set, so I had lots and lots of pre-gens,
Mm.
and they were all kind of
Right. Yeah.
thematic.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And on the pre-gens, you have 4 kind of categories of cards, and you can have between 1 to 3 of mythos or logos, so
Right.
civilian.
Yeah.
So you can be either even back and forth or swayed one way or the other. We will generate our own and create our own mythos, our own logos, probably to set a
Oh,
certain
okay. Yeah.
theme. Um, it's
Right.
a little more complicated, right? Because you got to do the themes and then the specific abilities and how you
Hmm.
kind of do that. But then it becomes much more like your character at that point. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah. 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 Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. You have pre-gens. I'm just wondering if there was like a menu to choose from, or what. If there was actually you get to. Sounds like you get to just sort of
Yeah, you
create them,
just
which is
that
great.
I think there's some standard ones you could choose from, but I think you're encouraged to
Mhm.
create them, whatever they are, special
Great.
abilities and things like that. So yeah, so that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Fun.
Yeah.
Neat.
So now
I remembered another
go ahead.
game, by the way, that I want to tell the two of you
Okay.
about because I know you'll probably be interested in this idea. Right now, John Harper is this is the playtesting thing too. Is playtesting Blades 68, which is Blades in the Blades in the Dark setting,
Mhm.
right? And obviously the mechanics, sort of like time shifted forward because Blades in the Dark kind of has this, medieval fantasy situation. Time shifted forward into a 60s kind of setting. So it's more
Hmm.
It's not modern
Yeah,
exactly, but
yeah,
it is more modern than the original setting, and it looks like, I haven't actually, like, downloaded the playtest yet and checked
yeah,
out all the things, but I'm it tickles my fancy,
It
I'll
could
tell
be
you
yeah.
that.
kinda neat.
Well, our
Yeah.
Jason was talking about a Blades in the Dark system, Forged in the Dark system for time. Remember the time shifting, time guardian kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it was his idea from, we talked about that a while back
yeah.
too. We had some
Yeah, where
some
you
chats
were,
about that.
convicts.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. It's good. If he ends up, I mean, I know he can't
Right.
because he's,
There are
working for Wizards,
restrictions,
but
yes.
I
Right.
really liked him to throw that
Yeah,
out
he'd
there.
actually reached out to the publisher of the Blaze in the Dark system, who's in
Oh, yeah.
what country? Sweden or something?
I don't
Or
recall.
maybe Czech
I don't know where
Republic
Evil
or
Hat is.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere
I never really thought about where Evil Hat is
somewhere not
based.
here is all I know.
Sure.
Yeah, and they were talking back and forth, and then I think they both got busy. So,
I felt that.
but
Yeah.
yeah, he mentioned he really wanted to put something together like that.
Listen,
This is probably around the same time that I was putting together my what weird
Yeah,
Western Forged in the Dark game, and we were sort of
throwing ideas off of each
chatting
other.
about the
yeah.
throwing
I
ideas.
like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
system. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the games that I've only had the opportunity to play a couple of times, but I like is a time travel game called Continuum. And I will look.
Have we keep? I feel like we keep talking about
I do. I
this.
think we do. But one of the ways I want to loop
Yeah.
back to one of the things you were saying earlier about the sort of the meta nature of the Triangle
Mm.
Agency is that one of the things about the Continuum rulebooks is they insist that they are being written from the future in order to be a role playing game that people play today because time travel is about to become a thing that everybody knows about within unspecified but not very many number of years, they say. And in order to prepare humanity to accept the reality of time travel, they've seeded all kinds of media, movie, books, and now role playing games with time travel so people can kind of get their minds around the concept before time travel becomes a well known reality for humanity. So I thought that was kind of a clever sort of meta piece for that game that matches
Yeah.
something like the meta piece that the Triangle Agency is trying to do.
I- if the future time agencies are trying to get us used to the idea of time travel, they should have maybe done a slightly simpler system than
I think
Continuum.
that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably right. Maybe they
I
seeded
mean,
all the other
I
time travel games, RPGs.
yeah, Time Watch is one I can think of. Yeah,
Yep.
a couple other ones.
Hmm. Well, that seems like there's plenty of other games to play out there between now
Oh yeah,
and Gen. And of course, we're still going to continue with our play test.
Yep.
So
yes.
we'll be getting that knocked out. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. Excited for the new games. It's one of the things that I'm liking, but also really excited for Starfinder Second Edition in its final form to come out and so we can
Yeah,
start playing that. So and for Jason to run Murder Metal City, I'm really excited about that.
you're gonna say that I'm doing that every episode until I actually start doing it, right?
Well, just to make sure that you put the screws to whoever needs to develop the Foundry modules for you. That's all.
I'm sure it's
Yeah,
probably happening.
I
I
hope
don't
so.
know. We'll
Hope
see.
so.
I mean, it's a deluxe
Yeah,
box,
it's got to
so
have
why
it.
not make a deluxe thing? I mean, we did all the beginner boxes and stuff,
I
right? But
feel like the relationship is not such that people at Paizo are spending a lot of time putting the screws to the people at Foundry. It feels a lot more collegial than that.
Yeah, no, I think so.
it definitely is. I just got to go talk to someone who does work for Paizo, who talks to the Foundry guys, who is, I gotta say, in a game that I'm running that I just started running, also running a couple weeks, a Pathfinder game.
So
So
easy.
hey, all
Yeah.
over
There you
Foundry.
go. Easy as that.
Well, I'll just sort of seed a little like, hey,
Yeah, we
we
need it
doing Murder Metal
sooner than
City? Or,
later, just yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I think the question was asked and it was sounded like yes, sounds like something we would do, which tells me that probably they're
yeah.
working on it, but who knows if it'll be at launch.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's just a lot of stuff. They're gonna have to get the whole Starfinder Second Edition in there, basically. I don't know. I wonder if they're gonna do. This is completely off topic. I wonder if they're gonna do it as a sort of add-on to the Pathfinder sort of module or have a whole other
Like if they're going to
game
duplicate
system.
it and
Because what
recreate a new,
Yeah,
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 and just in
as
its
though it
own
were some
thing,
new
because
game.
there will be differences. Well, yeah, because when you do Foundry, you pick a
right,
system to open the world into, right? And you can pick. There's so much stuff out there that people have made for that, and some of it works better than others. And I think probably Pathfinder Second Edition might be the thing that works. One of the
right.
best that has the most support
Mhm.
in Foundry because it has a lot of
Yeah.
official stuff in
Right,
it. Yeah,
right, right. Well, yeah, it probably depends on how easy it is to kind of bring the system in versus if they have to do standalone.
I don't know. I feel like duplicating it
imagine.
might be smarter because
Yeah,
both
what
of the
Ron
games are going to
says.
continue on their own trajectories, which
Right,
might not be the same.
Yeah,
It's the one of the games might develop um an archetype issue, which is a if I can go back to the mists of early Pathfinder First Edition, it was pretty much a continuation of 3.5 D&D. But then by the Advanced Player's Guide for Pathfinder First Edition, they came out with the idea of class like archetypes that you take to like pivot the way your character works. It's not
right.
prestige classes, it's something else. That was kind of a new thing,
mhm,
and the whole system ended up kind of counting on that architecture. At that point, it really deviated and kind of became its own thing. So I think that if Foundry existed at the time and was like, well, should we make Pathfinder its own thing or just kind of a 3.5 thing? No, you would have been smarter to make it do its own thing because then it developed its
yeah,
own very robust uh, system with a lot of independent rules. And I think there's going to be a little more tightness between Pathfinder Second Edition and Starfinder Second Edition, but I still think that there's going to be enough deviation that it would feel like I'm going to pick a different system. This is in pure speculation on my part. I don't know anything one way or the other about how Foundry even does those
Yeah.
modules, but
yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, right now, how Starfinder Second Edition playtest is, it runs under the Pathfinder module. So
and you can
basically,
Mhm.
and I've found in
Well,
advancing a character you can easily sort of suddenly fall into wait suddenly I'm in the vast sea of Pathfinder Second Edition
yes,
options.
yes, yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, for the playtest, you technically need to use
You
Player
do.
right,
Core
Yep.
and GM Core to run it, so
right,
it doesn't have all the rules in it. But Starfinder Core will
yeah,
stand alone, so I think maybe the Foundry
yeah.
module
Let's hope so.
most likely
We'll find
be able to
out
stand
and
alone.
tell our viewers as soon as we can.
I mean
As
it'll
soon
be
as
Yeah,
we
as
know.
soon as we know.
we'll know because we'll be playing it, right? Is that the
Yes.
Well,
All right.
maybe. I mean, we might know beforehand.
Yeah.
oh okay.
We might get all the information beforehand. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered some interesting ground here, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up with the Galaxy Guide next time if we have it before then.
Let's talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm John.
I'm Ron.
And I'm Jason, and this has been Digital Divination.